Hello, hello. I am here today to talk with you specifically about the things that I learned through trying to juggle time and responsibilities and how I broke the cycle and how my clients are now breaking those same cycles. So, we're going to go through these slides. We're going to talk about this information. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out and ask them. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Monique Derwin, and for over 25 years, I was in the spa industry. I held a corporate spa role as a trainer for over 12 years. During that time, I was trying to balance work and family life. I had two children that were in school. I began struggling with health issues. I had migraines, carpal tunnel syndrome, neck, back, shoulder pain, frozen shoulder. I mean, the list kind of goes on. For the sake of the recording, we'll keep it short. But I underwent multiple surgeries as well as tried many medications, alternative routes, and in the end, it wasn't working. So I realized that I needed to live differently. I knew I needed to leave the corporate spa, but there was all of this stuff going on in life. Just like many of you, I was busy. I had families, I had children, I had responsibilities. So obviously, I couldn't just quit my job. I still needed money, I still needed income. But I knew that I wanted to go back to working for myself, which I had worked for myself when I was younger. I had a lot of poor examples of self employment and entrepreneurship and small business, and failed miserably at my first salon that I opened. So, super scary, but I knew that I had to do something differently. And I knew that I had to overcome this burnout. So, I immersed myself into self care, personal development, and began taking various courses and seeking guidance from mentors. And when I say mentors, it was anyone and everyone who was out there. So, anybody that was talking about healing, managing time, uh, corporate spas, leaving work, doing all these different things. I was following all these people and ended up getting a lot of information that was just information. So I had all this knowledge, but didn't really know what to do with any of it. Eventually, my journey throughout all of this craziness brought me back to optimal health, and I began to unveil strategies benefiting both my personal well being and creating success in my business. Now, not everyone here owns their own business. So just use the word business with your particular position at work, right? Some people love corporate jobs, some people want to stay in them. That's not what I'm here to debate. I want to talk about how to reverse and prevent burnout and live your best life. And I want to share the wisdom that I gained through my personal experiences with you. So we'll start with this. I'm standing at the time clock and I'm holding my badge to clock in, and my mind is already all over the place. It is beginning to rapid fire the list of responsibilities and things that I have to do when I get off of work. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of it. I just want to get back in bed. I had to pick up the kids from school. I had to run errands with them. They had events and sports and dance and all these things going on. So we were very busy. On top of that, I needed to go to the grocery store. My husband worked shift work, so he was working sometimes 7/12s, and I was the one that had to be responsible for everything at the house with the children and work a full-time job. So you can imagine that I'm getting exhausted, I'm burnt out, the life priorities are taking over my priorities. There was no room for things like self-care or even um, the time off that I was getting. I just wanted to rest, I wanted to sleep. And eventually, I began to need more and more and more time off, which was actually a problem because when I had time off, I couldn't enjoy it. And I was sold on this corporate position with the 401k and the benefits and the insurance and all the things that we've been taught that we need to have. Um, so I realized I was overworking, overgiving, people pleasing, codependent, and my body was beginning to physically break down. My anxiety was through the roof, and I was no good to anyone at this point in time. So just let me know in the chats or raise your hand if you have a hectic schedule. If you're like me, if you have a lot going on in your life, maybe you're a caregiver, maybe you're self-employed, or you work for somebody else and you work a lot of hours. Maybe you have children or a family that you have to take care of, or responsibilities in other areas of life, not just in your own house. Just let me know if that resonates with anyone. I want to know, are you exhausted from juggling a schedule? Hectic schedules, right? Yes, that's me, all of it. Right. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Are you chasing deadlines with your corporate job, your second job, your ex- calendar, your life? Do you have things going on that there's deadlines for, and maybe if you don't make it, it might be a little detrimental. It might be a problem. Self-employed, primary caregiver of a parent with dementia, exhausted. Yes, I can't even imagine. Are you craving a work-life balance that maybe seems out of reach, right? We've all been told there's this work-life balance that can happen. I thought people were crazy. I didn't know how that was going to happen. It seemed so far away. My mind couldn't even believe that eventually I could be there, because I only knew this fast-paced life and busy, busy, busy. And we'll go into a little more about that in a minute. I began getting really irritable and having emotional distress. And a result of that was the carpal tunnel syndrome. It was the neck and shoulder pain. It was the migraines. My physical body was beginning to have pain and ailments because I was out of alignment. I was, again, overworking, overgiving, people pleasing. I didn't really understand boundaries or what to do when other people needed things. Their sense of urgency became my sense of urgency. And I actually was doing life incorrect for myself and not knowing that. I also began to lose interest in things that I enjoyed before. I found that I would spend a lot of time sleeping. I needed to rest a lot. I found that I was drinking a lot more. I found that I would just get on Netflix at night and kind of veg out, maybe watch a whole series before the night ended. Um, I just wanted to get away from things. I didn't want to go have fun. I didn't want to be in public. I had began to isolate because I was so exhausted. I just needed to like veg out in front of the TV, truly. I also scrolled social media a lot, and that became more time consuming, and my brain was foggy. So, again, not getting good sleep, exhausting myself more, really took a toll on my physical, mental, and emotional well being. So, um, anybody here struggle with any of these? Do any of these feel familiar to you? Let me know. So, through this part, I'm starting to realize that there are some things that have to change. So, I'm going to tell you about the things that I changed, and then I'm going to break them down and describe them a little bit for you. So, these are going to be some practical tips that you can use. I want to offer them to you today. They were so helpful for me, and I'm going to share them with you. There were three things that I had to learn specifically. We'll talk about five here in a minute, but the three things that I had to really, really start with was I had to get curious about what was out there. What was out there that maybe I hadn't tried, didn't know about, wasn't sure, had never experienced? I had to throw out the rule book of everything that I thought I knew about time management, work, parenting, emotions, pain, exhaustion, burnout, all the things. I had to almost wipe the slate of my brain to be able to see something different. And I had to surrender to what is and what was. So the things that I had already learned and knew up to that point were not the things that were going to help me move forward in life. We're going to dive into that in the next slide. I had to decide I wanted something different. I had to choose, right? So we have a program called the Punchline Approach. It's a lot of what I work with. This is the C step specifically. And this C step solution will change your life. It doesn't matter where you are and what's going on. I had to surrender to what was and what is in that moment. In that moment, I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. What was I was told I had to be the caregiver. I had to put everybody else first. I had to put myself on the back burner. Those were the conditioned patterns and beliefs that were deep inside of me that were really creating the chaos. Because I thought if I didn't put others first, I was going to be a bad person. I was going to um, not be loved. They wouldn't respect me, right? So my role in life has been a fixer through the majority of my life, and it was more important for me to fix things, take care of other people, overgive, and I ended up uh, really getting the short end of the stick for myself. So I had to choose. I had to choose that there would be something different in my life, even though I wasn't sure what it was yet. Then I really had to commit. I had to commit to something um, that I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I had to step into the unknown. I had to throw out the rule book on everything that I had been taught, everything that I knew prior to this moment, because those experiences and that information was conditioned, it was generational, it was societal, and again, it wasn't working. The things that I was doing wasn't working. Changing my diet wasn't working. Going to the gym wasn't working. Taking the medication wasn't working. So I knew that if I wanted to do something different, I had to change the actions that I was taking. I had to navigate differently. I had to do something differently. Then I had to cultivate. This is really interesting for me because I had to be willing to be surprised at what else was out there that I had never seen before. I had to be a different version than the one I ever was. I didn't even know this part of me existed. This was a big understanding and aha around manifestation. I had to cultivate a new human, a new experience, a new outcome. And the way I did that was through manifestation. I would begin to see this version of myself. I would begin to notice what she did. And I had to do the things that she would do. So if she was going to uh, pack up and move across the country, I had to start packing up my belongings. I had to start writing out business plans. I had to decide what was going to happen in the future. If I was going to go all in, if I was going to create this new business, I had to do it all the way through. And again, had never really been exposed to this before, had never really seen it. So I began journaling and scripting out things that I actually live in the now, but it was just kind of thoughts at that moment. So it just really started writing out, what do I want? And where did I want to be? And what did that look like? So these are the extra things that I really want to talk about with the C step. I had to let go of anything that wasn't working. So fussing about my job wasn't working. Being exhausted every day wasn't working. Um, Running around and not knowing what boundaries were wasn't working. So cutting away anything that was not in alignment with that person that I wanted to be, who I was cultivating in that step before. I had to only follow the people who had achieved what I wanted to achieve, which meant all of this knowledge and all of this information, all of these years of certifications that I talked about a little bit earlier. I was deep diving into all this self-help work and all of this knowledge, and I had to stop because it was just information. I was an information overload. I was consuming it all, but I wasn't digesting it and living it. And some of the people weren't giving you practical steps on how to do it. This is actually a practical step by step on how to do what you want to do. But I wasn't getting that. So I had to let go and cut away the things that I had been immersing myself in that were no longer going to be the thing that brought me to that next level. And I had to get continued support. So I had to find a community, I had to find a group, I had to find a mentor, a coach, someone that could help me. Again, someone who had already done what I wanted to do, that had proof of concept and was living this work. And this is actually where I come in for you. This is what I do now. I am an integrative mind-body coach. What does that mean? Mind-body coaching is different than just coaching. Because in mind-body work, we work on the unconscious beliefs, not just the thoughts, not just the mindset. Every human is designed to go into a stress response. We want this available. We don't want to cut it off. We don't want to throw it in the garbage. We want to be able to go into a stress response. The thing is that we should go into a stress response for 3 to 5 minutes and then really be able to move through it. And that's ideally a little bit longer than what even I would recommend. I would say 1.5 to 2 minutes. We can regulate the nervous system. I've done it thousands of times, not only with myself, but other people. But we're not going to get into too much of that right now. So in 3 to 5 minutes, you should be able to go into a stress response and come out. The problem is that most humans have never been taught how to do that. So imagine that every time you think a thought, your brain drops out adrenaline, peptides, proteins, hormones, neurotransmitters, and your body begins to feel it. So the feeling comes through, you feel overwhelmed, exhausted, afraid, whatever the emotion is, you're going to feel it. And most of us stay in this cycle. I call it the think, feel cycle. It is a vicious cycle and it takes over. Now, imagine that you're doing this with stress and you're not coming out of that 3 to 5 minute spot. Imagine that you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, or it's hard to go to sleep at night because you're thinking about it, or you wake up the next day and you're working and something triggers this stress, whatever the stress is. It could be a credit card bill. It could be getting your tires changed. It could be one of your children or a family member. It could be your job. The point is, when you stay in this active stress response, the body starts to go into overwhelm. And over time can create the true fatigue, exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, and what we call burnout. Your brain is trying to protect you, and it only knows what it has done before. Okay, it only knows what it's experienced before. So if you were in a home where things were fast-paced and moving a lot and there was a lot of stress, you only know that cycle. You only know what you have been conditioned and what you have experienced. So when you learn to change the way your body deals with the emotion, you will change the outcome. The idea of this is to let stress be short and go back into that rest and digest cycle where you're going to recoup your energy. Imagine how much time you spend thinking about something. I know myself, before I really engulfed myself into this work, I would spend days and weeks thinking about one problem that I needed to overcome. And then you start stacking that up with life, responsibilities, not drawing boundaries, all the other things, right? It becomes this perfect storm inside of our nervous system. So, mind body coaching is different because we work on the unconscious beliefs, we work on the subconscious beliefs, we work on realigning that brain and that body so the natural pharmacy that your body makes can do what it is designed to do, which is keep you in momentum, keep you going. So, what are the features, advantages, and benefits of coaching with mind body work? What's going to happen here is the offer is a 6-week small group. You will get me live every single week for 6 weeks. I will be with you every week, deep diving into specific concepts that are going to kickstart your journey. If you already are on a journey and you've already been doing this work and you need some support, I'm going to help you get into momentum and stay in momentum so that you achieve the physical healing and the success that you're looking for. Every single week, we have things broke down. There's a separate lesson, there's a worksheet. You will understand this work on a different level because of the foundational guidance that I'm going to give you. This is a deep dive that we're going to take for the next 6 weeks. So let's talk about what the plan is, what the offer is, and if you have any questions, feel free to start putting them in the chats. These are just a few testimonials of clients that I've been working with. Ada's self-employed. She has 5 kids. She came to me suffering with chronic digestive problems, severe pain, headaches, burnout. Since she's been working with me, she has created boundaries. She has physical energy. She is changing the way she is doing life. And the last client that hired her has actually offered to pay her double what she was getting paid before. So she got into alignment and she's killing it. Sarah was in burnout and exhaustion when she came to me. Her desire was to get back into her field of work and her specialty. Recently, she's purchased a couple salons and is thriving in life, and her body is recuperated. Melanie is a spa owner. She was struggling with physical pain, anxiety, and burnout when she began working with me. I helped her clean up the reasons why she was feeling stuck and why she was in pain. Then she began working with my mentor specifically on her money mindset and has tripled her income. So these are real stories about people out there that are just killing it at life right now. And Hilda has a retail shop. She suffered with pressure headaches, exhaustion, and we've worked on her overcommitment and boundaries, how to delegate responsibilities, how to do things differently. And now she's taken vacations, week-long retreats, while still running her business successfully. So she can take off and rest and take care of herself, and her business is still running, and she is still killing it. So those are just a few examples of people that I've worked with and how this has helped them. This is the offer. What I want to talk to you about specifically right now is how to break the burnout cycle, how to get realigned with where you are. Like I said, every single week, we are going to go over a different concept. We are going to have a worksheet on it. I am going to work specifically with you. So before we begin, there will be an initial one-on-one strategy call. You and I will meet privately. We will discuss exactly what it is that you want to work on. for yourself, and we will put this together for you. I'll get it ready. You're going to have it dialed into what you need. You're going to get weekly group coaching calls. So the 6-week session on its own with group coaching calls is a $997 value. That strategy call with me is a $200 value. You will get the call recordings. So for life, you will have access to these. You will never, ever, ever lose them. They are in a public place, a member vault, and there's a lifetime access for me, which means there's a lifetime access for you. So you can watch this over and over and over again. And you will get weekly worksheets. Emily has done a great presentation here with my slides. She has put together some worksheets for everybody. So every single week we will have a different topic. We're going to dive in, we're going to break it apart. And by the time this 6 weeks is over, you will have foundational help and you will know exactly what you're doing and how to work with what you need specifically. I see one question here. I'm going to look at that. Let's see. Oh, no worries. So I am going to pause the recording now